Okay, today we're going to be going over primitive Greek, Roman, and a little bit of Egyptian theater. So we're going to start with primitive theater. During the primitive time, men hunted while the women would gather fruits and vegetables. While they were eating, they would reenact the hunt. So while this isn't necessarily what we think of theater per se, this is kind of how that acting thing kind of got started and how theater in general would find its origins. They also would perform acts for the religious leader of the tribe in hopes for him blessing the hunt. So, an Egyptian theater was the first time that theater evolved from ritual to actual theater. The Abdus Passion Play was the first dramatic production. It was the story of Osiris. So, if you go into YouTube and click on this, or if you're reviewing this presentation as I'm presenting it to you, you can pause it, click this video, and watch this video. It describes a little bit about Osiris for you. So, the next thing we need to talk about with kind of theater's origins is Japanese theater. There are three types of Japanese theater. The first type is no. So 5 no plays with a comedic play in between is kind of the setup for no theater. It's based on tales for traditional literature with a supernatural being transformed into human form as a hero narrating a story. It integrates mask, costumes, and props in a dance-based performance, uses stylized conventional gestures and acts, and there are 4 major categories of performers, and then you also have the chorus. So here are the 4 major categories. You have the main protagonist, you have the foil of the main protagonist, you have a character who performs the comedic plays in between those 5 no plays, and then you also have a character that plays the 4 instruments that are used in the show. So if you click on this link, or if you go onto YouTube, you're going to want to find this video. This is an example of a no theater type of show. Okay, so the next type of theater is kabuki. Kabuki dance is a dance drama with elaborated makeup. The stage features a walkway that extends into the audience. There are 3 main categories of show, historical, domestic, and dance pieces. The historic ones are set within the context of major events in Japanese history, and the domestic are focused on commoners and generally have themes of family, drama, and romance. They are performed in full-day programs, usually involving 5 acts. And we'll see as we start talking about Greek theater as well. Theater during the ancient time period was an all-day event. Okay, so again, if you want to follow this link or go onto YouTube, you can watch this clip of an example of kabuki theater. Okay, last type of theater is bunraku, and it's a puppet type of theater. There are 3 types of performance. There's a puppeteer, a chanter, and then there's musicians. So again, if you follow the link or if you go onto YouTube, this is an example of a bunraku puppet theater. Okay, next one we're going to move on to is Greek theater. So Greek theater started with the festival of Dionysus, which is a religious festival held in the honor of the god Dionysus. He is the god of wine and fertility. It was held in Athens and thought to have lasted from 17 to 15 days. To put it nicely, it was basically a drunken orgy, but they did have playwrights who would enter into a play contest. The winner won money and an ivy wreath as a symbol of victory. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the Greek chorus. So the Greek shows, especially at the very beginning before the advent of an actor, it was all of the chorus that would speak the lines of the play together. So if you go into YouTube, find Oedipus Rex choral ode, and you'll see an example of how the Greek chorus really spoke all of their lines together. Then we have Thespis. Thespis was credited with being the very first actor. So like we talked about with the chorus had lines, but there was no one actor until Thespis. He stepped away from the chorus and delivered his lines independently. Actors wore masks to distinguish between the different characters where they were playing. So this is where the comedy and tragedy mask oriented from. Since there was only one actor playing a majority of the major characters, they had to distinguish themselves somehow. Okay, so there's 3 types of plays that the Greeks did. The first is comedy, which is a light humorous play with a happy ending. So if you click on the link, or if you go onto YouTube and find a link of Lysistrata, that is a comedic Greek play. Another type is tragedy. So their tragedies aren't just sad stories, but their main character suffers a disastrous end that is fated. So they believed that if you were fated to do something that was going to happen no matter what happened. So if you click this link or go into YouTube and find a clip of Oedipus Rex, Oedipus Rex is a tragedy. He was told that he was going to marry his mom and kill his dad. So his parents told one of their people to go and kill their son, and he felt bad and he didn't, and he gave it to this family. And when Oedipus was young, a soothsayer or kind of like a fortune teller told him that he was destined to marry his mom and kill his dad, and he didn't know that he was essentially adopted and that the parents he lived with weren't his biological parents. So he ran away because he didn't want to marry his mom and kill his dad. And on the way, while he was running away, he ran into another group and in the process basically killed his biological father. And his biological father was the king, so he became king of that era, and he had children with the existing queen, so which was his mom. So no matter what he did, even though his parents tried to make sure that it didn't happen, it happened anyway. And the last type of play is satire. Satire made fun of Greek legends. Satyrs are goat men, drinking buddies of Dionysus, and known for promiscuous behavior. The only surviving satire play is Cyclops by Euripides. Okay, so let's talk about how the Greek theater was laid out. So it was constructed in hillsides using the natural slope of the hill for the audience. The orchestra was where the chorus would chant their lines. Behind the orchestra was a raised platform where the actors would perform. And then there was a skene, which is a small building at the back of the platform where the actors would change their mask, and the front was used to represent the location of the play. They used specialty machinery. Most noted was the platform on wheels used to lower actors from the top of the skene to the stage to show descension of gods from heavens to earth. So this is how it's laid out. So you have your theatron where the actors would sit. You have your orchestra where all of your orchestra members are going to be. Then you have your parados, which is basically your sides where the actors can go on and off, and another place for the orchestra members to be. And then you have your skene behind that. Okay, so this is another kind of drawing of what it would actually look like physically. There are 4 surviving Greek playwrights. 3 of them wrote tragedies. 1 wrote a comedy. So Sophocles, Aeschylus, and Euripides wrote tragedies, where Aristophanes wrote comedies. So let's talk about how the Greek drama play would actually be set up. So the very beginning of the play would be the prologue, which is a monologue before the chorus enters that presents the topic of the play. Then they would have a parode, which is their entrance ode. So the chorus would come in and be chanting the parode. Then we have episodes. So 1 or 2 actors interact with the chorus. It's at least in part sung or chanted. Then you have the stanismon, which is the stationary song. So choral ode where the chorus comments on the previous episode, and that kind of repeats where you have episode, stanismon until you get to the exode, which is the exit ode. It's the last song after the last episode. So if you go to YouTube, you can find National Theater's An Introduction to Greek Theater, and it just reiterates everything we've talked about and gives you some more examples of what Greek theater looked like. So last thing we're going to talk about is Roman theater. So like in most areas, Romans and Greek theater are similar, but they also have their little bit of differences. So the Romans borrowed from the Greek ideas, and essentially what they said they improved upon them. Their plays were less philosophical than the Greeks. So the Greek ideas and the Greek plays really hit on philosophical ideas about life and love and higher beings, where the Roman plays were a lot less philosophical than that. And they also encompassed more. So in Roman theater, you saw acrobatics, you saw gladiators, you saw jugglers, you saw athletics, and you saw chariot races. Their plays were held in honors of God, but were significantly less religious than that of the Greek theater. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about your project for this section. So you have 4 days to work on your project. At the end of the week, your project will be due, and you'll have a quiz over this selection. So let's go over your project. So your project is going to be involving Greek theater. There's actually a really cool website that we're going to use, and it lets you kind of put together your own Greek play. So in this project, you're going to be staging your own Greek drama, including writing dialogue, inserting masks and props, and staging the characters. So if you click on this link from Arts Edge Kennedy Center, and we're going to do that in just a second, I'm going to show you how to actually stage your play. Make sure that the characters and dialogue for each scene are appropriate for that section of the drama. So if you look back to the presentation, make sure that you have a prologue, make sure you have a parode, make sure you have 2 to 3 episodes, then make sure you have a stennismon after each episode, and then at the very end you have an exode. And then when you are done with it, you're going to click I'm done, and then you're going to click email, and then email the project to yourself and me, so that way you make sure you have a copy just in case something happens, and then I'll have your copy as well. So looking through the rubric, you are going to be graded on characters, that they're all appropriate for that section of the drama. The placement of the character makes sense in terms of the section of the drama and the dialogue. You need to have at least 3 props overall and make sure that they fit the dialogue. All of your characters except the chorus should have a mask on in every scene, and all the masks should make sense in terms of the dialogue. And then the last section is dialogue. So the dialogue is appropriate for that section of the drama. There are at least 5 lines of dialogue in each scene. So you have to have at least 2 episodes. Then you have your entry song, and you have your stennismon, and then you have your exit song. Each section has to have at least 5 lines of dialogue. Okay, so let's look at the Arts Kennedy website so we can go over how to actually build your play. So you click start, and you're going to give your play a title. So I'm just going to put sample title, and then you're going to put your name on there. Don't put a pseudonym. I need to know whose project it is when I'm grading it. So go ahead and put your name in there. And then click OK. And then it's going to give you a background. It's going to give you players, mask, props, and then dialogue. So you can change your background. Maybe we want to set our play at the coast. Maybe it's in front of a stream. Maybe it's on a farm. Maybe it's in a valley. So pick which background fits what you want to do. And you'll notice on the bottom, it'll guide you through each section of your play. So prologue, parados, episodes, stennismon, exodes. So make sure you're writing your dialogue and putting your players in each section. Don't do the entire one just on the prologue. So click players. You can drag your chorus in. And you're going to put the player's name in there as chorus. And then if you put female or male characters in there, you're going to give them a name. So you can name your characters whatever you want as long as it's school appropriate. And maybe she's talking to another woman. Okay, so that's how you put players on there. Don't forget each of your players that are not a chorus member needs a mask. So we're going to put a monster mask on this one, and we'll put a soldier mask on this one. So maybe our soldier is fighting a monster out by the sea. There, and you click on dialogue. You can actually write the dialogue for your play. If you need to flip any characters, if you need to rotate, if you need to delete anything, it is all there. If you need any help, you can also click the help section, and it'll tell you what each section does. If you have any questions, you can let me know. So don't forget to do 5 lines of dialogue per scene. And when you do dialogue, you need to click on the character first and then do dialogue. So, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe this character 2 talks. Blah, blah, blah. And you'll be able to see what they said ahead of time, but to be able to actually enter dialogue, you need to click on the player and then type their dialogue for that scene. Once you're done, you click I'm done and email, and then email it to myself and yourself.